Hemshech Beis, Volume 1, Chapter 144. The end of Discourse 36. Just continuing discussing the Hamshacha, the transmission, and the power, the energy that the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the Patriarchs, drew down into existence, which is all captured in the word Shaddai, Kel Shaddai. It says Ve'era Avram Yitzchak Yaakov beKel Shaddai Shmi Havaya Le'nadaiti. So not Havaya, which was revealed after by Yetzias Mitzrayim, by the Exodus from Egypt, and by Sinai. Whereas by the Avos it was still Kel Shaddai, and Kel Shaddai encompasses all the transmissions that are within existence, all the way to their highest source. As we've been discussing, even the hidden worlds, and which in the source is called Bina of Atzilus. In the last chapter, he introduced another word, Dai Machsere, which means that enough to fill the gap, to fill the lack, to fill the empty, the void. And he explained at length what is the Machsere, what's missing, what's the lack that the Avos filled. And briefly, what the lack was, that the whole existence is a result of Chassan, because it can't create the world without diminishing the light, the energy. So, basically, beginning with Atzilus has to be concealed within Malchus. Not just Malchus, but Malchus Tzenius Malchus, for the earth, for land to emerge. You brought Yikovo Hamayim, V'sirah Hayabasha. That the waters have to be gathered in order to allow the land to emerge. So there has to be a concealment, a chsadin, in other words. The water has to be recede or withdrawn for the land to emerge. What is the land in the spiritual levels? That's Malchus. Interpret also Yikovo from the word Kavim. That's the Midas. The Midas are what create the type of structure. Instead of the water just being unbridled, unfettered, just spreading out, the Midas create Kavim that is structured and withdrawn into Yesod and allows the Abasha, which is the Heitata of Malchus, to emerge. Citing the Zohar in Zohar Chelek Aleph Daf Yitches Amar Aleph. Okay. And the Sheresh Rishon, in the first root, what is this? The Tzimtzum HaRishon. This is the Tzimtzum. That if the Ein Sof would just flow like the sea, it would not allow anything to emerge. So the Tzimtzum conceals and withdraws, and therefore allowing existence to emerge. So it's all a result of Chassan, Machsere. Then he went to a discussion about Ata Hu Havaya Levadecha, and then Ata Sisa Shemayim V'Sa'aretz, which captures this idea that before the Tzimtzum you have three levels. So the Tzimtzum is what withdraws all the energy that allows existence to emerge. So it's all through a Chassan Eir. Chassan. He explained Atu Hu Havaya Levadecha is the three levels. Atu is Etzem HaMoyer, that's beyond Helam and Gili, beyond revealed, beyond concealed, so it's everywhere. Because it's beyond, it's a different type of reality. Then you have Hu, which is already an energy that is subject to concealment. That's the Etzem HaEir. And then you have Havaya is this Pashtus Seir. That's where the air, that is, as he says, Shaykh la'elmas. Actually, Nivra Elam Hayu Shmei Belvad are the last two levels. Hu and Shmei is like Hu and Havaya. So actually, Nivra Elam, but before the Tzimtzum, you had Hu and then Havaya. These are the two levels that are there before the Tzimtzum. And just like Atzilus B'Pratis, the microcosmic Atzilus, you have the levels of Meichin and Midas. You have Chachma Bina. We spoke about Yisrael Saba and Tfuna, and then the Midas Zal Malchus, Chochmah 1 is Nestoris, and Vovke, the Niglis, the Midis, same thing. In Atzil is the close before the Tzimtzum. So you have Hu Shmei, that's Etzemer and Ispashta Seir. So you have the same type of levels we've been discussing, something that's more related to the worlds and something that's like the Moichin that's detached from existence. We discussed this at length as well. The air that's more to himself, like Machshava, and the air that is like Dibur, that reaches to others. So bottom line is that then comes Ata Asisa Shesmayim Ata Chaser Hey. Again, a Chaser is lacking the 5 Patsufim, the Giluyim, the revelations, in order for Malchus, the Ein Sof, or Malchus of Atzilus, to emerge. And the Malchus is the root of the diminishing of the moon, which is Malchus. That is a lack of energy in there. The moon, therefore, is subject to either being a full moon or a diminished moon. When it's diminished, as he discussed, that's when there's a possibility also for the negative forces to take hold. They come in when there's vulnerability, when there's a diminishment. He explained from the Zohar, the Kad Sira Chaseda is Chavya Bisha is Takev. When this moon is missing, is diminished, is lacking, that's when the serpent, the evil serpent, dominates. Tuk for the Gufa Chulsha the Nishmasa. When the summer is weak, the body gets strong. And Navedi explained at length, when the Krechas faculties of the divine soul are active and alive, they subdue and keep at least asleep. They don't necessarily transform, but they keep the Nefesh Abamis at bay. And as he said, when a power and a faculty is not working, it gets weaker. But when they're not that way, then you have the Nichnas Beruach Shtos, then you have the concealment, the Chesarden allows for the other side to emerge. And that Nefesh Kisechta Tva, that even though it's a surprise, a shock, how could it be a soul can do a sin? But that's the fact that once that soul, that sin comes from Nefesh Abamis. But it then affects the Nefesh, at least the level of Nefesh. And this is a Dei Machsere. What did the others do? They came and reversed the process. Avram Hischil, he filled in the lack that was there in existence as a result of creation, as a result of the structure of existence having this diminished flow. That's chapter 143, some. Now we go to 144. You want to ask something?
Yeah, that's the Siru or Tzimtzum, that's the Sphere of Genesis. Is that what we're talking about?
The Tzimtzum, is it Tzimtzum? What do you mean?
If we're talking about the Parsufim, particular Parsufim, the Hey Parsufim that were missing. Not the Hey's missing. That's from the news. Not from Maki.
Why are you saying that?
I don't know. I'm just asking a question. I need an explanation.
Well, he says, "Mepchinas hakesar hamalchus the Ein Sof." He does say the Ein Sof.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that's fine.
Or
that's fine. That's the levels of the 10 hidden spheres. You could say that. Yeah. As they are in that state. Yeah. And only malchus of malchus. Yeah. Remains. Okay. 144, page 287, 277, 278. Ba'inyan hudini b'pirish Shem Shaddai milvad ma she'omer Hazal b'gemara b'medrash Rabbah kanal. Now, in the interpretation of Shem Shaddai, so far we've gone through interpretation Shaddai, She'emer le'lo dai. It tells the energy of the world, the energy that enters into existence enough, regulating and limiting the flow. We learn Shaddai also from the word Shaddai, the breasts that also measure the flow and are the source of sustenance. And we've also now used the word Demachsere. But Mamshar Ramazal the Gemara Medrash Canal is referring to, I believe, the first interpretation. It goes back to the beginning. Where is it? He brought that both a Gemara and a Medrash. He said like this. Chapter 130, page 251. So he brought there. Here we go. Gemara Chagiga and Medrash Rabbah Lech Lecha. That's what he's referring to, the Gemara and the Medrash. So Pirish and Mefarshim, additional interpretation, Shemaloshin, Shade, Shaddai Yove. Shade Shaddai Yove. What does this mean?
The breaking.
The breaking of the marachas. That's what it says of the structures. But what's Shad Mishadai Yove? Shade is the breaking Mishadai Yove. Okay. V'hainu shu Mishaded hamarachas. So it means that Mishaded means it annihilates or breaks apart. It breaks apart.
The systems.
It disturbs. Mishaded hateva. When you say shidud, Mishaded hamarachas means it disturbs and breaks up. Hamarachas the structure. Marachas are the structures. Are like the establishment. Marachas are the systems. That's what marachas are, the systems. It mishaded. You say something shidud hateva, breaking the teva, meaning it disrupts the teva. Or Pirush Ramban Zal Shemenu boyim hanisim u'amustodim hamalubashim b'levush hateva. So shade mishadei yove probably means shadei from the name Shaddai. That shade, the ability to so-called disrupt or to mishaded, to shake up, break up the structures. The Ramban says from there comes all these the miracles that are concealed and enclosed in the garments of nature. As it's known, there are two types of nisim, miracles. Revealed miracles like the exodus from Egypt, the parting of the sea, very obvious revealed miracles. Similar. Everybody can see, it's nira, obvious and revealed to all, ain kol, to all eyes. That's opposite. It transcends. It defies nature. And it's revealed in this literally godliness, because how that else could it happen? These miracles come from Shem Havaya, Be'etzem, from the core. That's higher than the source of the world. It's not a pasuk?
It has to be. I checked on the Shaddai, I checked on the shade.
Nothing? Maybe shade with Shin Daled, not Shin Vav Daled.
I think so.
Yeah. Ukidu de Meshem Havai Ef Shaliyas Yisavas Hayesh. As it's known from Shem Havai alone, you cannot have a Savas Yesh, the creation of the Yesh. That's why it says Bereshis Bara in the beginning God created from the name Elikim. The Savas El Musum Shem Elikim Dafke. Because the creation has to come through a concealment through Din Elikim. But from Havai you cannot have creation. That's why through a gili, a revelation from Havaya, the entire nature is suspended, is eliminated completely. Because Havaya is a revelation from that higher place. Beis, that's the first type of miracle. Beis, the nisim shem melubashim b'darkei hateva. Then the second is miracles that are manifest and clothed in the laws and the ways of nature, natural ways. She'ein hateva mizbat legamri. Is not defying or suspending nature completely. Nevertheless, the core miracle is higher than nature. So in the first case, Etzem Havaya is revealed. There, the Teva is suspended. Here, the Teva remains, but within it, something higher than nature is happening, is taking place. But it's just enclosed within the garments of nature. Because the natural order, which is through the governance of the mazalas, of the stars, the celestial bodies, spiritual celestial bodies. Nature too, even without any miracles, also alakus. Someone is running the show. there is a choreographer. Like it says elsewhere, that the mazalas, or the entire world, are just gegazin, like an axe in the hands of the axeman. The one using the axe. So it's an instrument of the divine instrument. However, it's a divine energy that comes with a very intense tzimtzum, concealment, to the point that it encloses itself in the mazalis, in these, let's call it the governing celestial entities, which conceal, which cover the divine energy within. And then he says in the parenthesis, and this is from God's love to us, upon us, from God's kindness upon us. In order that the chesed, the kindness and the transmission from God should be a chesed gashmi, that should be a material, a tangible type of kindness that is commensurate to the recipients. Like it says elsewhere at length in the Maimer called that what? That this mere fact, that God manifested in concealment in the laws of nature, is actually a chesed. It's a chesed of God because it allows the flow to come on our terms. If the flow came from Havaya, or from even a higher level, but not completely manifest in nature, we would never be able to enjoy and benefit from a chesed on our terms. So this really is a chesed of Hashem, that it manifests and encloses itself, but it's still concealed. It's like the chesed, the kindness of a teacher that encloses ideas in a way that a student can receive it. So on one hand, it's a great chesed. On the other hand, it is ultimately a concealed state. V'sheiresh hamazolos hu shemrei ha'afanim. From the waste. Shemrei ha'afanim. How do we translate shemrei? Like the waste, the waste, the leftover of the angels.
What does that mean?
From the lowest levels, like from the leftover. It's a mushal, like let's say when you leave over the waste.
The lowest is
Shemrei ha'afanim. V'geveya mal geveya. Yeah, one second. So it goes like this. We live in this world. The ashpa, the flow, comes through different so-called passages, we're called filters. Those are called the mazalas. The mazalas themselves come from the lowest levels of the angels, which are also bearers and agents of energy. It's just levels. The geveya al geveya, and higher, until they receive from the Spirit of God's mouth, which all this is in a structure. It's kederech v'seider shtalshus al pi maimer kav hamida. This is kederech in the way of the cosmic order, according to the maimer kav hamida, according to the order, the command, kav hamida, of what we call the measuring rod, the flow, the stylus. From level to level, shemismayit diminishes, umisamsim and is concealed, ha'er, ma'id, increasingly, until it comes complete concealment in the mazalas. So as we know, the mazalas, like the mazel, let's say we now entered the month of Adar, mazel dogim. Now, there's no fish in heaven. Mazel dogim is like an archetype. Dogim represent a certain type of blessing of abundance, that they multiply much. The month of Adar relates to that. So what is this mazel? Mazel is a force. It's a type of spiritual force that filters the energy in this month into a month of simcha, a month of blessing.
The lowest angels.
The mazalas themselves are rooted in Shamrei Afanim, which is In angels itself, you have Afanim, Chayes HaKodesh, and Srafim. Afanim are the angels of Asiya. Srafim are the Chayes HaKodesh are the angels of Yitzira, and Srafim are the angels of Bria. So all these are levels. So the Shamrei Afanim, Shimrei Afanim. Shmorei, I said before, yeah, Shmorei is the lowest level of the lowest angels, which in turn manifests in the Mazalas, and that draws energy into existence. So they're very concealed in the Mazalas. So it all shows, this is all showing how the flow is very diminished. He's talking about nature now, how nature works. V'zeh inyan teva meloshen tovu b'yamsuf. And this is the meaning of nature. The word nature, teva, in Hebrew means tovu, means submerged, sunk. Tovu b'yamsuf means they submerged and were sunk, drowned in the sea. Dahainu shalakus nitfa b'zeh fatrunken. It means alakus. The godliness in nature is fatrunken, means drowned. It means submerged. Ve'ena nida v'nigla klal. So when you throw an object into the sea, what happens? The sea completely engulfs it and conceals, and it's not revealed or seen or revealed in any way. Now he's going back to Shaddai. But when it radiates from the root and the source of the transmission, not the way it's conventionally flowed. Remember we spoke in the last class, that there's a conventional flow that maintains existence. But it's a diminished flow that is subject to the gradations till it enters each item. That's the diminished flow. That's not what the others do. That's the minimal of existence. Now we're talking when it radiates and illuminates. From the root and source, means that it's not being transmitted in a type of cause and effect. Ilav meaning an orderly progression that evolves from cause, effect. The effect becomes the next cause. A constant, hierarchical process. Through this, it shatters. That's the word. Meshadid, by the way, shatters. It shatters the structures. It shatters the marachis, which are the structures. Liyas bezenes. In order for there to be a miracle in this. Nothing found?
Yeah, I found two places in Shaya and Yoel. It says Kiyam Bizas Hashem, Nes Hashem, Kiyam Bizas.
So Shade Meshadai Yovei, that Shade will be the shattering will come from Shaddai. Is that what it means? God will shatter something?
In Yeshaya it says
what does Rashi touch?
Rashi says Kishayed Kiyam Biza Meisa Kadosh Baruch Hu Yovei.
Okay, good. So Meisa Kadosh, that's Shaddai. So it's from the Shaddai. Shaddai comes to be Meshaded, basically. So the word Shaddai now means not the limit, it's talking about even further, it's actually shattering. Destruction. No, he didn't say destruction. It depends shattering. He says it's nes melubish beteva. We're not talking about destruction.
Yeah, it says kishayd kibizas shredim.
Same idea. Okay. The nes uloshna harama. Teva means fazunkin or fatrunkin. It's submerged and hidden. Nes is sometimes nes is the word comes from the word arum nisi, comes like a flag that you fly up high. Nes comes from the word harama, which means to lift up, to elevate, to raise. V'hagba, to lift and to raise, or to raise and to lift. U'kamoi v'yasimu al hanes. I think that's in Parshas Pinchas. It talks about the Nochash, right? About the healing. It said, put it on a flag. In other words, put it on a pole.
Banner.
Like a banner that you can see, like when they put up a flag on a mountain or on a pole, a flagpole. It says Simal Nes. So Nes means a lifted up state, a very revealed state. It's an exalted state, actually. Uhepechin in hatfiyah is the opposite of being submerged. Teva is going in, being fartrunken, sunk in, right? And this is the opposite. This is lifting it up, that it should be apparent. That's what Nes comes from. There, the divine, in nature, the divine is concealed like an object under the sea. And in a nes, here we're not talking about a nes goli like you see Mitzrayim and Krusayim. We're talking about in nature, it shatters the regular laws of nature and allows something to happen that is beyond the regular script. The choreography has been shifted.
That's a nest within nature.
That's what he's saying here. Yeah. V'hainu shenira b'zeh gam ken gila l'kus. Well, he's in the middle of reading. Let's read it. V'hainu, which means that shenira b'zeh, it's evident in this. Gam ken gila l'kus. You could see in this also the revelation, divine revelation. K'mashakosov ro kol avsiyoris es Yeshuas Elokeinu. That all the entities of earth. Afseyoretz is an interesting word. Afes usually means nothingness, all the nothings of the world, but that's not what it means. Called Afseyoretz, we say, is an expression, all the inhabitants, another way of saying inhabitants.
Everything.
As Yeshuas Elokeinu, the salvation, the divine salvation of our God. So everyone sees it. Rak shemalubish b'levushi hateva. Yet, but it's nevertheless, it's still concealed in the garments of nature. Isn't that about Yetzias Mitzrayim? What does it say by Ro Kol Avsiyos Yeshuas Elokeinu? Was that not said by Yetzias Mitzrayim? You know? Okay. I think so. But anyway, he's not talking here about Yetzias. He says, U'kamoy hanes de Esther, like the Nes of Esther, which is Purim, Shem Lubish B'teva, what's Ayin Halach? Ba'av? Okay. I'm stumped. Shemlubish B'teva Ba'av is Esther. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because he loved her. The whole mess was that
maybe Ba'av is Esther. Okay, could be. Interesting. Could be the Esther. Now, instead why he's saying Esther, because the Gemara says Esther is from Haster, Haster is Ponai.
If you look at the story,
the Haster, Haster is Ponai, so it's the concealment. So Nes of Esther, so it says Melubish B'teva was all dressed in garment. That was not the only thing. One aspect was that Achashverosh's love for Esther, which meaning that naturally he fell in love with her, he married her. But there's everything there is natural. Everything there seems to be natural. And if you live through it, you wouldn't even notice what's happening until it happened. Ba'avis Esther. Okay, interesting. No, I mean, I wouldn't assume that. Beis Ayin Hey is usually Ba'avis Esther. Okay. So there, what we see there clearly, it's not just regular nature going on. Something's happening. There's a hidden hand. But it's definitely not plain nature. It's also not totally revealed. But it's definitely, it's shattering the laws of nature, that allowing things to happen that would not happen on their own. Because the whole Purim thing needed a divine hand. Because why should Haman suddenly not prevail? And in truth, they saw in it Gilei Elokus, even though it was not manifest in nature. The whole event in Megillah took 7 to 9 years. If you lived through it, you would not notice. 7-9 years. Here suddenly Achashverosh has a party. He by seemingly randomly gets upset at his wife. Then happens to be someone who's there to advise they should kill her. Then happens to be that the advice, okay, find a new wife. Happens to be it's Esther among all the women in the kingdom. Then happens to be that Mordechai over here is the big sin v'shadish, is a conspiracy. All seemingly unrelated elements. Then it happens to be the king happens to have insomnia one night. Big thing. How many people can't sleep one night? Sleepless. Can't sleep. So they read to him the book. So he wants to then reward Mordechai. All random. Who happens to be in the courtyard? Haman. Etc., etc., etc. So if you went through it, and when you read the news, the New York Times of those times, you would see, okay, the king married a new wife. Yeah, a conspiracy was foiled. The king couldn't sleep, so they read about the conspiracy. It's all dots. Look in retrospect, you connect the dots, it's very clear, it led somewhere. Had one of those things not happened, everything would, he would have married Esther, but Mordechai had not saved him from Bixam Beseresh. There would be no reminder of it. Had he slept peacefully that night, another Tashnas HaMelech also. So when you look at it, they see clearly a choreography, because bottom line, the Jewish people were saved from genocide. So it's not a small matter here. Now obviously there's a lot of nature, Esther appealed to Achashverosh and so on and so forth, but you need all the things in place. So there's this is not, when you say regular hashgacha pratis, you say, obviously everything in life is a divine hand, as he said. Kagaz and biyad hachesed, it's God, the instruments of nature that he's using for things to happen. But you don't have to say that it's disturbing the choreography of the original plan, which is, as we said before, the maintenance of existence. The sun rises every morning. You don't need to say is some type of shattering of nature, shattering of the structure. That's part of the order. Here, there was a clear shift in the source code. However, it's not a shift that was manifest like the sun stopping in the middle of the sky, or the order splitting, or the 10 plagues. Here, the code is changed, and therefore the choreography changes. That's Belubish B'derech HaTeva. That's Shaddai. Havaya is the root for real open miracles. And we see, Be'emes, though it was all manifest in nature with the story of Esther, you saw in this Gilei Alakus, Ech Shenepach Hadav Legamri, because you see the whole transformation. Kamashakosov and Nepach, who Asher Yishltu Yehudim, that here Haman and his people were about to kill all the Jews, and they were riding high, and then suddenly the whole thing turns around, and Haman is hung on Mordechai's on the gallows he prepared for Mordechai, and Asher Yishltu Yehudim, and the Jews, Yehudim, they're the ones that dominate and kill the enemies that wanted to kill them. Doesn't it say it on Mitzrayim? Right? On Mitzrayim, right? Oh, okay, so then fine. Which means that the miracle itself is from Shem Havaya. The miracle even of Purim is from Shem Havaya. An interesting rule. Every divine revelation is from Shem Havaya because that's the level of Oir. However, this is from the reflection of Havaya as it manifests in the name of Elokim. That's why it doesn't completely disrupt nature. It's manifest in the ways of nature, in the laws of nature. So now he goes like this: Shadish Beis Nisim Hanal. Shadish Beis B'chinas Nisim Hanal. Sorry, and the root of these two levels of miracles we just discussed, the ones revealed and the ones that are concealed in nature, in Ma Beis Yichudim. Here we go. Ta'avo. From the two unifications, Rashab is very consistent. The two unifications of Abba v'Ima that you've been researching. The Nisim Niglim, remember there's two revelations, Abba v'Ima, we said Yichud Pnimi, Yichud Chitzeni. Yichud Chitzeni was Yisrael's Rabbi v'Tfuna, which is the Midas within Meichin, or the Nehi within Meichin, as they are related to the application. That's what the Ovis. And then there's Yichud Pnimi, that will happen by Matan Torah and L'Asad Lovei, which is ultimately the Yichud, where they become literally one, where you get that within the summary of Bina, you reach the core of the truth, of the resonance of Chachma, which is when the student isn't just hearing the idea superficially, but in depth, as we discussed. So now these are the two Yichudim. Here's how he explains it. The Nisim Niglim, the revealed miracles, Yichud Pnimi da Abba ve'Ima. They come from the internal, the intimate union of Abba and Ima, Chachma Bina. Shezeh b'chinas Abba ve'Ima Eloyin. That's the higher Abba ve'Ima that he referred to all the way back now. We're going all the way back to the beginning of chapter 134. You see the consistency here. V'nisim nistadim, and the concealed miracles, they're from the external or outer unification of Chachma Bina. That in general, as we spoke earlier, is the Yichud, is the unity of Yisrael Saba, that's Chachma, and Tfuna is the Midas and Bina. Midas and Chachma, Midas and Bina. when the energy transmits from its root and its source, it's a level of nes. Because an additional flow is entering. We're not talking about the regular regulated flow. We're talking about a burst of energy that's coming from the source of the whole transmission. This was brought already? Yeah, it was also brought. Where did we read that? Yeah, that was that was the Shaddai, right? We spoke about Adai. Let's see. Let me see. Looking at page Reish Nun Ches 258. There he says, "Shemaysin mazon l'chol beria mishalach b'rechesov l'adam la'adnai actually was the same milim medai v'chol b'rechesov v'shem milim mazon l'chol beria kel shadi yivarech eschem." It actually doesn't bring the exact lashon. The teichen is there, right? But that's what it brought me back and reminded me. But 1 second, I just want to see one thing. By Shaddai, what does he say by Shaddai? Okay, it doesn't say exactly that lashon earlier. Okay, so what is he saying here like this? So, that Medrash Rabbah that talks about Sha'amalei Lomedai, I think has another interpretation there. Shem Shaddai belakuse l'chol beria. What does this mean? There's enough
to sustain all living creatures.
Right, for every creature. What means Shaddai belakuse? He's saying here that it's not just the minimum sustenance for every creature, but there was also the element of, he said, Shaddai from Lashon Shidud. In other words, also giving the beria, also miracles as well, that are manifest in nature. Because it's known that even Yichud Chitzeni of Abba Ve'ima is not just some, remember we spoke about this, it's not just a small thing. It also means that it's nimshach, it's a drawing down from the infinite divine light that's higher than Abba Ve'ima. Because anything in Chacham Bin is coming from Keser. That's the transcendent energy that is higher than the cosmic order, Kaneda, as it's known. However, when you're talking Yichud Chitzeni of Abba Bima, it's coming from the outer dimension of Keser. Remember we spoke about Pnimius Bina, Pnimius Abba, reaching Pnimius Keser, Atik? When you talk about Yichud Chitzeni, he's adding now a point that he didn't make till now. That the Yichud Chitzeni, which is also a Yichud, that we spoke about at length, right? That also comes from Keser, but it comes from the outer dimension of Keser, the root and source of the Netzalim, because Atik is removed. Hatok and Netak. Arich is the root and source of the emanations. Now this is all Natzilus Pratis. Now he goes back to Atzilus Klalis. What is it Lifnei Tzimtzum? Remember that, my friends? Going back and connecting it. What is it Lifnei Tzimtzum? Remember Lifnei Tzimtzum we also have in subtle form the root of what? The root of Er Pnimi is the 10 hidden spheres. The root of Er Seviv is the infinite spheres and beyond, higher than the defined 10. So he's saying that's the same thing here too. The root of miracles in nature come from Yichud Chitzeni, which is rooted in the outer Keser. What is it? And for the Tzimtzum, it's rooted in the energy of Ein Sof Sheshir Ba'atzmei L'Hayr B'chinas Midav U'Gvul. the infinite energy that allocated, that estimated within himself to radiate in midah v'gvul. So this is tying it all together. He's tying everything together here. And that's what the Avos are doing. The Avos are bringing Eir HaGvul into the picture, as we discussed. And from there, that too, don't dismiss that as being just a limited level, the 10 hidden spheres, the Shirat Mekech. It's a very powerful level. And the proof is that on its own, it cannot manifest without a tzimtzum. The tzimtzum has to conceal also that, to allow for the containers to emerge. But when there's a flow from there, so then an abundance of energy enters the kav. The kav, as we said, has a regulator. It's the filter. It carries the energy. And there's a regular flow. When there's an additional flow from that source, the kav too gets filled up. Think of the kav like a river. And the river now is overflowing. That's what's happening here. That's what the Avos do. They take the kav, which has a regular flow, and it overflows. Dai. Atrei Modai. That's what he's saying. So this is what happens to kav. And according to this, we can say, and according to this, we have now another interpretation. So far, I count 4 interpretations, if not 5. I count Sha'amar Le'lomei Dai. That was the main one that he first discussed. Then came Hekesi Lachem Bracha Ad Bli Dai. That it goes to the point of, expanding it to that point by the Shari Eira. That was so. The first one began in chapter 130. The second one was at the end of chapter 133. Shari Eira, right? Not the Pirush HaPasha, Hekesi Lachem Bracha. The third interpretation we learned Shaddai. That was at the beginning of, just to get it all together here, chapter 141. Then now we've gone to the chapter number 4 was here. Melosha Shade Mishadei Yove.
What about Demachseret?
He didn't say Shaddai from the word Demachseret. I think that fits more that, but yeah, you could add that in there. But it's not
the same, similar to Adlidai.
Yeah, at the end, it doesn't begin. It could be also that just fills the lack. It says, but it doesn't just fill the lack; it pushes it. You don't have to say it goes all the way, but it's it's similar to that. Demach Seder is probably closer to. Yeah, it's going upward for sure. Omelei Lamedai is the limit, the gvura, that limits the flow. Atli Dai is expanded. Shaddayim is also the flow. I guess it's bracha. Shade is even more. Now you're shattering even nature. So even within, you see here how he's expanding it. Like a ness in nature is like almost pushing the boundaries just before it explodes. But you're still it's still within nature. So you see clearly he's expanding he's pushing the envelope here. He's expanding the boundaries of gvul as far as you can go, which is what the Avos did. So this is definitely great going upward. So Shaddai is even more. This Meshadid is even more than the Bli Dai, because Bli Dai is you're pushing, but you're talking about breaking anything. Here you're talking about actually shattering the rules, except you're doing it undercover, basically. So you're not
breaking
right. And then he brought this last one. He brought Shaddai Belakusi L'chol Breria. That seems to be another interpretation. That fits more in both, in the Dai, and also that there's even a Ness in there. And now he's saying, according to this, we could say there's another. This is what it says. Another interpretation in Shem Shad. She'ein ha'elam meloi kedai lelukuse. Kedai. So it doesn't mean dai is enough. Means worthiness. What's Shem Shaddai? So they're saying Shem Shaddai oy meloi lamei dai. He's saying enough. The flow of energy, divine energy, stops it. He was saying she'eina ilm melui, that the world and everything in it is kedai lelukuse, is worthy of, and essentially it's like, in other words, it's a blessing from God. It's not kedai lelukuse. It's a different pirush. Kedai lelukuse. What does this mean? The pirush, not kedai. She'ein ha'elam melui kedai lelukuse. Not worthy of. Kedai means worthy. Kedai means not kedai. It's not worth the effort. It's not kedai.
But maybe over here it means Kedai Lakus, like it's not relevant. It's not in the same league as Lakus. It's like
the word die would mean Shaddai. That it's too limited. It's too limited.
Like not for
inferior.
Yeah, it's inferior.
It's not for Elohim, in other words.
Yeah. But that's the same teichen basically. It's on a lower level.
Not for Google.
So how does that fit into this whole picture? The Pirush Elam Meluihu. Now, what is the meaning of this, and how does it fit in here? Here, this is like completely the opposite extreme. This is like that. Michal was not even on that, not even close to Alakus. So he says like this: the Pirush Elam Meluihu. You say the world and everything in it, everything that fills it. Hu etzem Elam is. It's referring to the world, the etzem world. That's Elam, and Melui v'ha'oishu b'chinas mamala klamen. Now, we're not just talking about the world. We're talking about everything the world has. So it's also the energy, the divine energy, the finite divine energy, the immanent energy that is integrated and internalized in existence.
Worlds, right? Not only this world. All the world.
Yeah, but he means here Elam and Milui is Elam is the etzem world, and Milui is the energy within it. That's how I think he's saying.
Etzem Elam is.
But that doesn't change anything. That's so what Elam. Yeah.
All the worlds.
Yeah. I'm saying that, but the Ha'er Shu B'chinas Malaklam sounds like the Milui. And when there's a transmission from Sevav Klam, from the transcendent energy, the world and everything in it is not Kedai, is not commensurate, basically. It's not proportionate to it. That's the meaning Kedai here. Because it's infinitely distant, Gvul, from Gvul Gvul. So it's a chiddush in the Medrash, because the Medrash you wouldn't interpret it that way. But that's very relevant here. Okay, one second before we go there. So what's he adding now? He's adding. He's adding a very nice flow after explaining everything that Shaddai does, which reveals within the structure of existence and maintains the structure and sustains the structure, and the Ovis actually expanded to the fullest, to the point that even almost shatters the conventional laws of nature, but all concealed within nature. He's saying, then it comes and tells us that you should know that all this is not Kedai, it's not proportionate to the real divine, which is Sevav Kalaman. Remember, we kept talking about Gilead Helam and Yesh Mayin. So compared to the source of the 10 hidden spheres, even though it's far greater than the spheres as they were in the structure after the Tzimtzum, it's still a relationship between the 10 revealed spheres and the 10 hidden. But compared to the Eira and Sef HaSevav Kalaman, the infinite possibilities of the transcendent divine energy before it became 10 hidden spheres, it's Eina Kedai, not proportionate. So we have here both the power of what the others do, and also recognizing that there's still plenty to go. There's still an element of real blikvul that we haven't yet even tackled, even with all these great achievements. And from there, what does it mean from there? It looks like from Sevav Kalaman. Hey, 1 second here. So this is the Ovis also did. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, my friends. Because he's saying it's coming from Chetzenius Kesser, because even Chetzenius Abba V'Ima also draws down from Seva Sevav. Okay, wow. Very good. In other words, the Medrash is also talking about the Ovis. And this is where it comes the Mili Hachsarin, the filling of the compensation, fulfillment of the lack that we spoke in the previous chapter. Remember, De Machsede. We said it needs to be filled, and the others fill the gap. That means they brought down from a higher energy. This fills the gap, the emptiness, the lack in Malchus. V'zeu gam kemasher kosav kein machser lireov. Bring another machser. Kein machser lireov. Nothing is lacking for those that have fear of God, awe of God.
The monument is like a nest, a banner.
The ein machshel arev, the sherish milach hasen from b'chinas hakesser. How does he see that the Kesed in this part, in this verse? The Ayin Machzor L'Re'ev, the Ayin, the Ayin.
No, there was a fear in king, because it was kingship, that's Kesed.
Ayin Machzor L'Re'ev. Nothing is lacking for those that. Why not? Because the root of the fulfilling the lack or the emptiness, the things that are lacking, comes from Kesed. What's the full lashon? Ayin Machzor L'Re'ev. Say in Ben. What does it say before? Right. And then what comes after Ayin Machzor L'Re'ev? Firim Rosh L'Re'ev. Yeah, right then. Yeah, we all know this one. This end of benching. Just wondering what the whole. What does he say right afterwards?
Yiras Hashem Kedosho Ayin Machzor L'Re'ev. That's the pasuk.
Yiras Hashem Kedosho Ayin Machzor L'Re'ev, and then
Firim Rosh L'Re'ev.
Firim Rosh L'Re'ev.
But it's another pasuk. V'desh Hashem La Yachzor Choltai. So it's the same thing.
Okay.
Yiras Hashem Kedosho.
Ayin Machzor L'Re'ev. Ayin Machzor L'Re'ev. The Shorish. I think he's saying something more. I have to look up the source for this. Okay. And all this is the Amshach that the Ovis, the Patriarchs drew down from the root and source of Ishtalshlus of the Kavamida. The Amshachim M'Shem Misham Shalel Pisei the Ishtalshlus, the Kavamida. The drawing down from there is not according to the regular order, the hierarchy of the structure of the Kavamida, of the stylus of the measuring rod. And the energy and revelation is drawn into Malchus. That means that fulfills that which was empty, which was missing, what was lacking. We learned that the whole existence can only exist because there's a lack of energy, because there's a concealment and lack of energy. They filled up that lack. They compensated and they filled that lack. By and through this they drew down godliness down below. Okay, so what he adds in this chapter is that Shaddai is also from the word shadded, shattering the structures, but in a nes melubish b'teva. So essentially you can say Havaya, that manifests in Elokim, that's Shaddai. That's similar to Shaddai. That's what it looks like here. And that is it. So there's Havaya, pure Havaya, the world cannot be created from, but all revelations come from there. Havaya, pure Elokim is nature itself, totally concealed and through the Mazalas. And Havaya within Elokim, or Shaddai, is an element that in existence, in the structure, it does something, it plays around with the inner code, changes the code. And thus the choreography changes, like the story of Esther.
Isn't that Shaddai Gevura?
And this is rooted in, a Yichud Chitzeni of Abba ve'Ima. We're not talking about Yichud Pnimi now. Yichud Chitzeni, which also comes from a higher energy from Keser, Ara Keser, which is like Seviv Kalamin, before the Tzimtzum, before the 10 hidden spheres, before the Shir Atzmai, before he estimated what he wants in existence. And that's what the Avos draw down. And that creates a more abundant flow through the Kav. And therefore the world is filled to the maximum, to its capacity with Elokus, is what the Ovis came to achieve. Which also answers the question what Yaakov did with the stone that we discussed far earlier, that he also lifting the stone to the best he could, to the best of his ability, all the way up, if you remember Matzeva. The Nes, he lifted it up all the way till, the monument. Like a monument, and he made it into he lifted Malchus all the way to Meichin, but it's still Yichud Chitzeni, it's still Yichud Abba ve'Ima, not in its pure form, which is we'll still get to, is Matan Torah. You want to say something, and then we'll finish the Maimer?
No, so Shaddai comes from Gevura. Gevura is like the bursting, like the busting out of the structure.
It's both things. It's Amr Le'em Lamedai. It regulates the flow, and then it expands as much as...
Regulate the flow is also Gevura. It constricts the flow.
Yeah. It's all Gevura.
Or bursting out, it's also Gevura.
Well, the bursting part is when he teaches Shaddai from the other interpretations. Shaddai like Melashon Shade.
Right.
Or Melashon even... it really, as I think about it, actually, I would almost say, just comes as my own Hasidic intuition, that the three interpretations in Sphira, number, story, and illumination and brightness, sapir, are very similar to the interpretations here in Shaddai. Very similar. I'll tell you where. You have Shaddai that just limit, like number, limits the flow. Okay. You have Shaddai that's a source of blessing, like Shaddai. And then you have Shaddai that almost shatters nature. Shatters nature behind the scenes. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you start with number, which is structure, story, which goes deeper, and then you get to sapir, which is like total seamlessness. My own thought. It's very similar, the three interpretations of Shaddai here.
Shattering. It goes deeper, meaning...
In other words, it's taking the gvul, it's expanding the gvul outward. So we did with Mispur, Sipur, Sapir. Then we go to Eira Bligvul. That's another story. Eira Bligvul is...
It's like Orish Teo into...
What do you think about that little connection? Leitzach.
Nice.
It ties it all together. So in other words, everything we learned before about the expansion of... because that's where we start. We wanted from a world of quantity, you want to bring quality. And that's what the others did. They came to a world that was completely not receptive, and they began to expand. No, it seems very similar because there's no question. I mean, you see the connections. Everything comes together. This is like a mosaic big time. Nothing here is loose strings. Everything I see here, every chapter, he adds a piece, man alive. I'm very frustrated. Now I'm frustrated because I can't, like all the pieces, there's so many pieces here. Got it down on paper.
Can't help for the whole thing at once.
The general picture, thank God, I think it got pretty good, but the specifics that needs, it's got to go back. I mean, the truth is it deserves learning the whole thing from the beginning. That's the truth.
20 times.
At least the second time will be very helpful. Very useful. I see every time I go back, oh, now we know what it means. It's a whole different world. It's a whole different world. Even the first chapter. I can't believe how I taught the first chapter.
I was looking at the first videos, and I see the difference of what you're presenting now compared to the way.
Well, I've been educated here. It's an education process for us all. The truth is, I'm happy I did it that way. But I go back to chapter 1, how I learned it. I see now in it all these chapters that come later. It's all there. It's a whole different story. I'm going to teach the chapter 1 again. I'll do another recording of it. I want to see how I do it now. It'll be very different. The same idea, but... Huh?
And the other ones, the first few I just recently looked at, I saw that it's a whole different thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's still me, I hope. Right?
I saw stuff that you're very confident about now, and you were a little not exactly there then.
By all means, I'm sure. That's good. I'm no problem with that. There's no question. I mean, this learning makes a major difference. I understand that whole beginning differently now. I mean, I knew the general structure is going to Rotzen, but when you learn it, there's nothing like the details. It's all in the details. It's not. You can't be general here. That's very clear. When you get general and just say Eira Bligvul, Eira Gvul, they meet, and that's that. That's not Ayin Beis. No, that's everything. That's not Ayin Beis. Ayin Beis is the nitty gritty. It's every switch and how and this, every detail. Like even here, how Shaddai, how he developed Shaddai. It's beautiful, expanding. You could sense a type of mechanics here, like a mechanism that you can actually use. That how do you begin from a very narrow place, and how do you widen the,
Rabbi Rashab knew all these things, but he went into his trance for a couple hours. That thing. I mean,
I don't know if it was only then. That was ones they saw. How many times he must have been in that trance? Nobody saw. No, there's no. I mean, this is an accumulation of the Rebbe Rashab's entire life. I could tell right away that there's things that he learned when he was much younger. I see my Marim 30 years before this, where he talks about the same subject. You also see the evolution. You could see that they struggled with a lot. There's things in the early years the Rebbe Rashab was very more. He used to say that this is what I think is pshat, and God should help me that I should be mechaven. Here he doesn't say that. Here's far more authority. But there you could see a lot of topics here. It's a lot of topics that he writes about here. You could see him developing, You could see clearly that he was learning the Maimarim of the Rebbe Marash, his father, and the Tzemach Tzedek, and all the before, and then applying it. Here it brings it together, a completely different level. But it's clearly, you see, you could see right away. If you learn Chassidus, you see you're talking about someone, a Rebbe. He knows the whole Chassidus Chabad, all the different concepts, and he's bringing them all together. Look, the fact he keeps coming back to Abba ve'Ima here, Midas, Meichin. You see, there are clear signposts here that help you really navigate. What I'm doing when I write notes, I mark the chapters where he brings similar ideas, and so you can really look back and see it all. There are a lot of what's called intersecting plots going on here.
The matrix.
Yeah. Now let's finish the Maimer. And according to this, we'll understand the Maimer Azal, the beginning of the Maimer, the Kerach. Why is he called Kerach? Because he made a karachas, a karcha of Yisrael. It's a bald spot, but it means a split, basically. He emptied, a chasad. Bald spot is in this case, a type of desolation. That's like a desolate. He created vacuum. Tini al vakikach kerech targum unkelis vispali kerech. The unkelis teaches translates vakikach kerech ispalig. What is ispalig? It means he split. Like maplukt, a machlekes, like a split away, split off. Right. The Isa b'sefer name Elimelech, the name Elimelech from Melech Milizhensk. He writes. This is brought many places. Shazeh in Yehirakia. Yikava Mayim, got it. Okay, this is Yehirakia. Rihi Mavdil. Right, and second day when God said, I will separate between the higher waters and the lower waters. The higher will become the Rakia, the heaven, and the lower will become the waters, the rivers, the seas. Mavdil. So Spalig, the root of the Spalig Kerach is rooted in the Havdalah of day 2. The Havdalah b'mayim elyenim l'mayim tachtenim, the separation between the higher waters and the lower waters. Hu Havdalah ben amshachim me'ima la'ilah l'zah. Me'im ilah l'zah, or ben amshachim l'b'chinas malchus. One second. Between Imilah and Zah, and then between the Hamshachal and the Malchus, how many Havdalas here? One second. Havdalah bein Hamshachal and Imilah l'Zah. That's clear. So it's Havdalah is a separation from Bina to Midas, which we discussed. I guess, and also ubein Hamshachal l'b'chinas Malchus. Or does he mean Hamshachal Imilah l'Zah ubein Hamshachal l'b'chinas Malchus? No, but then it wouldn't say Lazah. It would say it could be he means really between the Hamshach of Bina into Zah. That's not the Havdalah yet, and the Havdalah between that, and then it goes into Malchus. Which way would you interpret it? You see what I'm asking? Is the Havdalah between Ima and Zah, or the Havdalah between Ima, Zah, and Malchus?
What do you say? Havdalah ben...
Yeah, Tachtenim is probably Malchus. But what's but then Ben Amshach, so then he should have said Ben Amshach me'imi la v'zah le Amshach b'bchinas. Okay, I'm not.
What Lovin wanted to do.
One second. Lovin wanted the parsa after the Atzilus. Yeah, similarity. Amen. Hu avdala ben Amshach me'imi la l'zah or Ben Amshach b'bchinas malchus. It looks like two Havdalah. It looks like you could interpret it both ways.
Micro.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. V'hu inyan ha-nesira, and this is the nesira. You familiar with the nesira? Nesira is the split between Adam and Chava. It's called nesira. Nesira literally means like the sawing of this. Yeah, it's very not actually a visual you want to imagine, but they were androgynous creature, male and female, and they just took a saw like the magicians do and sawed it right down in half. So you had man and woman. So you're basically a sawed off woman.
They were back to back.
Okay, Nesira, but it obviously doesn't mean an actual. Now the question is it chainsaw? Avram, or a chainsaw? Depends on the marriage. Here, is it a chainsaw, a jigsaw?
Weren't they flexible?
Well, there's also very delicate saws, for wood carpenters. They're called, what are they called? Those little saws, that they have them on a table for carving saw.
Fine.
I think they're called jigsaw. It's a jigsaw. Okay, so I'm wondering whether the saw between woman and man is a jigsaw or a chainsaw.
Now we still came from a
A chainsaw. You ever see a chainsaw? Yeah, they're very powerful. They are. Okay, so here Nesira is a little subtler than this. Nesira refers to the split between Adam and Chava, which is really the essentially. Just remember, it's a very, very important point I want to make here. It's a fundamental principle in Yiddishkeit, but you see in the Chumash the whole time. Day 2, you see the Havdalah between the higher waters, lower waters. You see the split between the moon and the sun. They were started as Shnei Meir Sagdelim, and then this one becomes Meir HaGadol, Meir HaKatan. You'll find the idea of splits are very, very critical in the whole picture, because it's really, in Chassidus, it's like the Tzimtzum. Everywhere and every level, there's going to be a point where you have to split two things apart. And then the goal is to reunite them. Obviously, this manifests most in man and woman. Two parts of one soul that were split apart, and they search each other. But the truth is, it's really a reflection of the tachlis of the purpose of creation. God created a fragmented universe for us to reconnect. So everything is called yichudim, because there's something that apparently is not, the unity is not obvious. The interesting point is that this, in essence, when you say this, every time I say it, and scientists I know, they say this is the essence of science, the search for unity. It's a search for finding unifying principles and laws that can understand many different phenomena. They don't have the unified field theory yet.
This, in a sense, is a unifying principle.
Yeah. So just for the record, so when we say Keirach split off, when you say this one split, love unwanted the split. Every time there's a split, there's always reflection of a structure God wants.
A new challenge.
Yikavu hamayim, that the mayim should be drawn back and the earth should emerge, land should emerge. I'm just pointing that out. So he says now like this. So Yispala Keirach is going on Yehida Kiyah. Keirach was essentially an evolution. Now, Yehida Kiyah is not a bad thing. God wanted division. He didn't want unity to prevail, and they won Yom Echad. Why? Because he was the only one on earth. That's right, light. Oir. Day 2 was the birth of Machlekes. That's why you don't say Ki Tov. On day 3, it's Tiferes. It creates peace between day 1 and day 2. So you bring together, it's harmony within diversity. But diversity itself has the potential for divisiveness. And thus, on day 2, you don't see yet the revealed blessing. Day 3 shows you Shalom. You can have both Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes. So day 1 is Chesed, day 2 is Gvura, day 3 is Tiferes. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan. You'll find this everywhere in Yiddishkeit. 1, 2, 3. It's critical. Shnei Ksuvim Machishim Zeh, 2 verses contradict each other. Bar Kasav Ashlishi, the 3rd verse Machriya reconciles, joins them. So now he's saying like this. That's the Havdalah that Keirach achieved, which was in Klippa. Havdalah, of course, in Klippa, which was as a result, if there was no split, remember, if there was no chesarden, if something is not diminished, you can't have a Keirach. Keirach could not have mutineered and split himself apart if there was no split in existence. Now he's explaining it. So he says this is the split ben Amshach me'ima le'ala le'zah or ben Amshach le'b'chinas malchus. But that's the Nesira. The Keidam HaNesira, before this split, before the separation, Hayakais l'echad l'shneim, that's the expression. That Adam and Chava had one wall, meaning one back. They were back to back. So one wall connected them, meaning there was one spine or one back. With 2 faces, but one kaisel. So it's like think of 2 entities and they share the same, like Siamese twins, right? So that's the expression. Kaisel echad l'shneim. V'hainu shishtavu b'hamshach. That they were equalized in their transmission, in their what they received or what they drew down. V'achakach ninseru. And afterwards they were sawed in half or split. The intention of this is they began acher ba'acher. Remember, we learned before that the world is acher ba'acher, and it's the Adam that brought it together, panim b'panim. And then the others even more than that, if you recall. This was at the bottom of page 275, chapter 142.
So by splitting them, they were able to go from acher to acher.
That's the goal. 1 second. Huh? Yeah, right. When they came down, they were acher ba'acher. But the point is, so it comes down like this. They began panim b'panim in the root. In the root, everything is united as one. Then it comes down, right? And then it comes down as two, but they're two now united back to back. And the split was not to remain split; it's to them to come together now, face to face. That's the look, as it says elsewhere, look in the Maimer of Tiku, the first Maimer of Eter. Tofrei Ayin. Ach Keirach rotze b'havdala atzma. Keirach forgot about, did not want the end result. He wanted the Havdalah itself. He wanted the separation. Separation, the purpose of the separation is in order to bring them together in a proper way, in a better way. And Keirach wanted to focus on the separation. Let's keep it separate. He doesn't want the Gilead and Malchus. It's clearly Hamshachim imi la lezah when Hamshachim b'chinas Malchus. I correct myself. I think it's more correct. Havdalah ben Hamshachim imi la lezah. So there's one Hamshachim from Ima Bina to Zah, and it's separate from the one that enters into Malchus. So Bina and Zah are far more connected.
Okay.
But when it's to Malchus, there's a split. Keirach wants the split.
But when you're talking about
Bina Zah and Malchus.
From where?
From higher.
From Bina also? Or?
From Bina, yeah, Bina through Zah, yeah. Like we said before, remember Chassarin, he said, what did he say before, if you recall? He said that, what's the Chassarin he said? Look in the middle of page 277. He said by the Levana. He says that, like he says in Zayach Chelik Aleph, the Katzid of it, what does he say? I'm sorry, one mistake, Reish Ayin Hey, 275. So what did he say there? He said like this. But Sarach Lem Shein Zay Dei Ma'im the Matzav the Zun up. He said the Shal Shaddai B'Chun the Oz Hay Zun B'Chinas Acher Ba'Acher Adayin. Even though Malchus was a pacha that received from the five higher spheres, but it was only the Achere Dezah. Even that's not happening now. Remember, he said the Chassarin is that Malchus of Malchus remains, and even Atzilus has to be concealed. This was the whole chapter about Chassarin. Yeah. Remember, they said for earth to emerge, for land to emerge, you need the sea to recede. Right? The water. That's Atzilus and all the Midas. Yikavu Hamayim. And it all recedes into the Yisod, and there's a split. And the Malchus is the only thing remains, only the outer reflection remains to enter into Biyah. And that's what Keirach wanted. He wanted Havdalah Shlo Yigil Erev B'chinas HaMalchus. He didn't want the energy to enter into Malchus, into the moon. No, Lovin is different. Lovin didn't want from Atzilus into Biyah, just to be precise. Yeah. V'zeh v'ispalig shu chet deir haflaga, and this is the meaning of ispalig. This is the chet of the deir haflaga, from the word haflaga, ispalig. What's haflaga? Why is it called deir haflaga? Because one of the reasons is because their languages were split. They were once united, and then there was haflaga. There was a split. Even though haflaga also, I think, means
Pilug.
Pilug is what? The split. Yeah, because they split it between themselves and God. But there's also because of this. So it says, "Ispalik shu chet deir haflaga." Like it says elsewhere, the difference between the generation of the flood and the generation that built the tower. The deir hamabel chatu b'chinas malchus. The generation of the flood, they sinned in malchus. Hishchis Yeah. They destroyed, they were corrupt. They were, they say in Yiddish, we used to translate Hishchiz, there's another Reb, not Reb, okay, I don't remember. Right, Chamas is Reb, yeah. Anyway, they were corrupt, they were decadent, they were,
Hedonistic.
And the earth, V'hu Inyan, V'shivcha Kesirash Gvirta. So Shivcha Kesirish Gvirta is a type of mutiny where the Shivcha, the servant,
Evet Kimlech, so the slave becomes the master.
yes, Kesirish Gvirta, she wants to inherit the Gvirta, the boss, the owner, the master.
Evet Kimlech.
So it's a type of basically mutiny. Shivcha Kesirish, but why is that connected with Shivcha Kesirish Gvirta? Okay, that's Ishchis. V'deira Floga Kafru b'shem Havaya. The Raflag, on the other hand, the generation that split off, they denied in the name of Havaya. Their sin was not in Malchus. Their sin, that's Gvirta, Shifta, Kiksir Gvirta. So to Malchus, Shivcha wants to own Bina, basically. The Raflag, they denied Havaya. V'hu inyan tachas eved ki yimlech.
What's the difference? I didn't get the whole.
It basically means that a slave becomes the master.
So, but it's the difference between Shivcha, Kisirish, Gvirta, and Evet.
Because that's in the Keva.
We probably have to look up the source. Yes, probably in the Keva,
To
Malchus.
say that, but still, what's in English?
Let's see, let's read on. This needs to be looked, because he's referring to something. He's looking.
One is just inheriting the honor, and one is becoming the king.
They did not want Shem Havaya, Malchus, through which it transmits the energy into Malchus. We said that before, in Benhu. I asked the same question in Benhu. That was where? That was the last page.
They want to throw him into the river.
Where was it? Right, in Benhu, that was where? That was that by Pare, that Mitzrayim.
Yeah.
As long as...
Pare is the clippers.
Where was that? That was... Kuf Mem Beis? No, Kuf Mem Gimel. Yeah. It was on page Reish Ayin Zayin, 277, somewhere in the middle of the page.
One wants to inherit and one wants to be divorced.
They want the Chsar Na'er.
Yeah, right. Don't read any better. Starts with kashet.
It's like the bottom third. The line
starts with kashet.
Okay, so one is a sin in Malchus. Basically, they were corrupt. They were not going to the root of it. They were just doing what they indulged in, what they wanted to indulge. Here, the Dera Flug was challenging Havaya itself, the root of the energy. They want a diminished flow. I have to look up the sources for this because it's very bekitzer here. And this was also like the Dera Flug was also the sin of Kerach, like Shekan Hoye Be'in Chesed Gvura, Sherach is Gabrus Hagvura Lias Halam. Yeah, where it says many places. He was a Levi. So it was this Gabrus Gvura. Okay, that's the difference. He wanted, they wanted the Chsarden, they wanted to keep a diminished flow, they wanted to be God, basically. In Dera Mabel, they didn't want to be God. They didn't say anywhere they wanted to be God. There was the opposite. They wanted to self-indulge. Hishchis, they were corrupted, they were selfish. In Malchus, right, exactly. In their Malchus, basically the sin was in Malchus, in the lowest level. How it fits Shifter Kisidish, I'm not sure exactly, but that's that. Their Afloga, they challenged God. They built a mob that we're God. Nasalon was shame. They wanted to become a whole entity. And that's why they were not killed. They were scattered. So in a way, far worse type of punishment. I mean, some way for worse. Because the other ones were playing corrupt. This was already people who were more spiritual. And they wanted to deny God and say, we want our domain. So they invested in a diminished energy. Kerach was similar, except Kerach was subtler. Kerach wanted a split between Gvura and Chesed.
They don't want the tempering of the
Right. And this is the diametric opposite of the transmission of the Ovish. They were all invested in a diminished moon, in a diminished state. And the Ovish, the opposite. They fulfilled up Malchus with energy. And Korach wanted the diminishment of the energy. That's why he challenged the priesthood. The Kohen is a chesed. A Kohen is a man of chesed. Hubchin is Gilead. That's Gilead chesed, as we know, is the flow of, like we learned before, a godly v'agibur. He didn't want that. He said, Madu tisnasu. I don't need your leadership. I don't need your flow. So some places, as this, and he doesn't elaborate here, that Korach was a Levi. Levi is Gevura. So la'asid lavei Gevura taka will be Yileveim hi yakenim. That's why it says that he saw the future. But the sin was today you're not ready. Why not? Because Gevura today, without direction from Chesed, is dangerous. We see this all the time. People who are judgmental, and it has the power to have a lot of unique sachitzenim, because they use their judgment. It starts off maybe justified, but discipline and judgment is far more dangerous. So who guides and tempers Gevura today is Chesed. Same thing like in the cave to save of Gover. You need to have Mashpiyah Makabel, but La'asid Lavi, when the Klippa will be gone, then Gevura could be pure. Today Gevura is a split. It could end up being a split that becomes divisive, like day 2. The purpose of the split, as he said, was to be Yichud Panim B'Panim. But if you misinterpret it, like Korach did, you want to invest it in the split, okay, we'll create a full split. And you stay where you are, I want to be where I am. That's why he didn't want to have a connection, Ashpah, from Chesed. Doesn't need Aaron. And this is the meaning that he did a karcha. Karcha means a void, a vacuum. It means an empty space. When you create like a baldness, you like you made a void, a vacuum. And it begins heder air. That's the meaning of the medrash. Nasa karcha b'Yisrael. He created a void, a vacuum among the Jews. Heder air. V'hine karcha hu meritas hasayres. Karcha is meritas means like the torn out, like uprooted, the uprooting of the hairs.
Like you take a chicken and you flick.
Flicking. How do you flick a chicken? How do you say it in English? Flicking a chicken. You pluck.
I learned 2 years in postal, so
Flick and flock.
They know all the words there, like that. Pluck.
Flick and flock.
You pluck. Flicking is pluck. Yeah, you plug the feathers, so that's a plucking of the hairs, like pulling them out, the uprooting. V'yesh. So in other words, the question now is, okay, Karach find the idea of a void of no Gilead, but why? What does it got to do with hair? Oh, very nice. So we can say, according to what we learned in chapter 133, remember we learned there about Cyrus. We learned about Cyrus. Being in Keilelam, where Avram brings down Keilelam, so we said, Ad Avram, there was no beard. That this is an example of the Cyrus the hair. That is the energy from the mind, however, not Shanasa Saida, but it's in a very diminished flow. It only became a hair strand. It's like a separate thing. Legamni min adam, completely separate from the person. See how he connects everything. Wow. And that's what the Ovis did. The Ovis did what? Remember that he spoke there that the Saida itself was the Chayes of the Meir. Just like, if you remember the Garden, he spoke there about the seed. There's the Ruel Tzadik.
Where the Chachma becomes the
Yeah. So what did he say there? Let me just see. Remember there, Kuf Lamed Gimel. Yeah, there was on top there, right here. Musa Saida. Yeah, the world itself is a lakus, except it's concealed. Okay. Right. That's what he said there. The same thing, the Nevraim, the creatures, they are a reflection of the divine energy itself. That thickened, materialized, and became the existence of a creature. That's what we learned there. And this is what Avram revealed, and he drew down the revelation of Elikus in Welt. He revealed in the Saira, in the here, he revealed godliness. The Keirach asa karacha, meritas asairis. And Keirach did the opposite. He plucked, uprooted,
And Avram was chesed.
and created miyota'er. So Saira itself is a diminished flow of energy. It can go two ways. You can continue the diminishing to the point of baldness, or you could do the opposite and reconnect it to its source and show that the Saira really is coming from that. Beautiful image. Oh, man alive. Next time I talk about baldness, I have a whole...
How would Kerach sustain himself in that?
Well, you see that he didn't, he got swallowed up. But Kedem call wie der Spoller zei dat gesagt, der Heilige zei de Kerach. Kerach's intentions were pure, initially. Pika Chaya. First of all, it says that he saw lost his love.
Okay.
So he saw that like similar to an Yitzchak blessing Esav. He saw that how Esav was after the Birur. So Kedem call. Secondly,
Die zijn de meiden van de Silas, de Silas alleen komt.
Ja, aber doch verstanden die ganze...
No, but the Rebbe brings... No, but the Rebbe brings interesting. The letters Kerach, Kuf, Reish, Ches are all a distortion of a Hey. Right? Kerach is too long of a Reglas Meli. Reish is Ana Reglas Meli. Ches is connected. So the Chelik Ches, the Rebbe brings like this. It brings Rispali Kerach. It brings like this. After the Meraglim, what was the Chet of Meraglim? The Meraglim Mishlach. They said... The land consumes its inhabitants. We can't enter Elam Haz, it's too strong. We need to stay in Ruchnis. Kerach came and said the opposite. Okay, you're right. Kavonas did it b'tachtenim. What do we need a connection to Lamadu Tis Naso? Atzmus wants tachtenim. Yeah, one second. Atzmus wants tachtenim. We could be moved till we don't. But that was the mistake also. We're not talking about tachtenim and separate. You need to have, right, exactly. He went the other extreme. They wanted Ruchnis on Gashmis, and not give all Gashmis on Ruchnis. Because he sees the Kavana in it.
He sees the Atzmius.
Yeah, exactly. But in Elam Haz it doesn't work that way. You need to have Eir. You can't do it through Helam. He wanted Helam, yeah, but Primus, he saw the power of the Tzimtzum. He saw the power of Helam. The problem is, you need a Helam that is B'Shul HaGili. That's what he says here. He wants Havdalah. He said, look at the words. Ratza b'Havdalah atzma. Not the kavana of the Havdalah is that Acher should come to Panim b'Panim. The reason we are separate and we have different levels is because we wanted to come to a total union. He wanted Ratza b'Havdalah atzma. That's line 6. That's the key. He wanted the end as the end result, the diminished. Now getting down to his intentions, but that's what he wanted. Avram is revealing in the Sidus, Zikna, he's revealing Avram that he's revealing Gilei Elikus in it, in this diminished flow in the Sidus.
Wasn't selfish?
Depends how you interpret it. In Ruchnius, Kerech is a very high level.
Okay.
He refers. What are you talking about? Gashmis, but Ruchni. I mean, which way are you interpreting it? Kerech, there's no question. He was a wise man. He was a Levi. He was one of the biggest people in his generation.
He still got
What are you? And the Meraglim are villains, or not villains? It says the Meraglim and Kerech are from the highest levels.
He made a mistake.
What are you talking about? The Primisim? They were very high levels. On the contrary, why does the Torah tell us about them? Because we learn from them lessons in life. The Rebbe has an unbelievable sikh about Kerach. You know what it says? Listen. In the end of Rambam, Hilchos Shmita V'Yevel, he says, "Lei shevet b'Levi bilvad," right? Not only shevet alone, but every Jew, every ish v'ish, not just Jew, even non-Jew, can enter Kodesh Kodashim if he separates himself from the world. And what pasuk does he bring? He brings the pasuk from Kerach, who said, "Let's be Kehanim." Everyone can be. The Rebbe has a whole sikha in the later years. You bring Kerach, who the whole Torah shel that Kerach was wrong. That's where we bring proof that everybody can be. So what was the difference in Kerach and what it says in Hilchos Shmita V'Yevel? Everyone can be from Shevet Levi Bilvad. That's what Kerach said. You got to read the sikha. It's unbelievable sikha. Because Kerach's root of his argument was not wrong. It was where he took it, his conclusions. Same thing with Meraglim. The root of the arguments are all very, or else the Torah wouldn't bring. Leibashut, the Torah doesn't bring every Mishagas. So there's a slaughter. However, they were wrong. Look, even Moshe Rabbeinu could have just said, he's a mutineer, let him die. He turns to Hashem and says, make a sign, let us see what Moshe knew that God chose Aaron and himself. Because there's a reason. Korach had certain points, legitimate points that had to be addressed. And today, even Madua Tisnasu, his argument is a strong argument. It's like the question, what do you need a Rebbe? The question is a legitimate question. Then there's an answer. So my point is that it's deeper than just a plain, there's no such thing as a plain sin in the Torah. There's no such thing. Everything has reason. There's even Mabul, Teraflug, it's lessons in life. Obviously, when you read it very pshat, you tell it this, Korach was a sinner and that's it. And he was swallowed up. But everything is a deeper story. It's always a deeper story. What was the intention? Even Pshat, even when you read Rashi says clearly, you see always there's a deeper reason. Even on Pshat level, I'm not even talking about the Primis Atera. Primis is nothing to talk about. It's a deeper story. Even everything, Yishmael, Esav, even the worst people in the Torah are all Yaakov and Esav and Morim B'Pash. Even
Yaakov putting up the Matzeva, the Galed.
Right.
It's a whole different story.
Look, ultimately, my point of view, it's one integrated Torah. Pshat, Remez, Drusa, there's all one. And really want to understand Torah, you have to take the Shalah's words or the Rameh. The Torah speaks about things above and alludes to things below. The Torah, from my point of view, is completely spiritual. The fact that it manifests in the physical world, that's already almost that's the end result.
Incidental.
So let's continue. So this is Segil Avram Him Shechai de Segil Elokus Be'elam. V'keirach Hosa Karcha Minitasasai Shu Rotze Be'etzem HaMetzias V'Yesha Shalelam. That's the Verter.
Yeah.
He wanted the Etzem Metzias, he wanted the Etzem, the core Metzias and the Yeshus of the world.
The Jews of the world.
But not to indulge himself, right? You want to
So he's not going into Kavana here. Here he's just explaining the thing. He's not talking V'inyan Ben Yitzhar. That it says Shehirtiach Alav Ketzarayim. It says that he instigated the world against him. Well, instigated the world, not against him. Shehirtiach Alav, against him. Alav. Against Moshe?
No.
That's interesting. I'm not sure. Shehirtiach Alav. It's Mashman himself. Ben Yitzhar. Ben Shehirtiach Alav is called Alav. Because Ben, he's the Ben, the son of Yitzhar, the son of the one who actually, could be maybe.
He brought upon himself.
That's what we touched on before, but
No, he may be right. Because what's the point? I thought about that. What's the point? No, Ben as in son of, like Ben Shehirtiach, the one.
Through that was his tikkun.
Anyway, bottom line, he definitely instigated, so it was like the heat of the day, basically. Sarayim is considered etzem hayom, so what does that mean? Yeshlem shezeu hatikun. You could say this is the tikkun, the repair. V'hu inyan is gabras eir hashemesh, because by tzarayim, by noon, is the intensification, the dominance of eir hashemesh. B'hainu gilei b'chinas shemesh havaya shem shichu avos. As we spoke before, remember the Levana is in a diminished state, and the Avos bring down the Shemesh, the sun, which is what they draw down. So this is the hint. What's the answer? So in other words, this is actually not a negative thing.
Yes, it's a positive.
It's a tikkun. The Ben Yitzhar Shehirtiach Alav Ketzarayim. In other words, Korcha is Korach is creating diminishing. And then Ben Yitzhar is like already hinting to the tikkun of the opposite. Instead of a diminishing moon, you bring in a revealed sun. Okay, another interpretation. That's even higher. It's even higher than what the Avos did. You could say even more. Ben Yitzhar is referring to the level that Moshe drew down, which is through Torah, which is the intensification of the sun even more than the Avos did. And that's what it means that he instigated, he boiled up the world like tzarayim b'chinas teika fa'er. So in other words, it's talking about the positive.
So what does that have to go to Korah?
The teika fa'er. 1 second.
If this is
it's not over yet. 1 second. V'zeu shebikish Yaakov rachamim, and that's what Yaakov... that he should not be mentioned in their argument. Remember the question was, what is Yaakov Mitamal asking for that? Because Kodesh is the exact opposite of what the Ovis, the purpose of the Ovis. So he doesn't want to be in an area which is the exact opposite of their whole purpose, to bring light, and he's diminishing. And he needed to request compassion, mercy, on this. From the Ovis, yeah. Because since the Amshach is still at the end of the day, it's still ultimately from the source of Ishtalshalos, so Yaakov can get caught up. If you're talking about a level of Matan Torah, it's completely different. Since he's already, like we talked about Gilead and Helam, he's in the category of Gilead and Helam. So he wants the Gilead, he doesn't want to be involved with Helam. No, Yaakov didn't have the power to transform Korach. He only had the power to stay away from him. Basically distinguish himself from him. Yeah, because he's already still the source of Ishtalshalos. Very nice. Because there can be a chsadin. As we said before. Remember, from Shalshalis, at the end of the day, there could be, even though the flow may be good and the others are doing, but it's still possible that there could be a chsadin because it's still coming from the root of existence. It's only to the maximum capacity of the flow, but it's still the root of existence. It doesn't allow, remember we said, Eira Blikvul is what creates bittul. Not Eira Gvul. That's the vart. That's why you have to ask Rachim al Zeh. The Medrash continues, and where is he mentioned? Where is Yaakov mentioned? B'siachsam al haduchan. He's mentioned when they talk about their yichus, their lineage, their yichus, their merit. I guess yichus is their pedigree connected to duchan when they blessing. What does the word duchan mean, by the way?
A platform.
A platform. So when they stood on the platform to bless.
No, it was higher. It was an area in the Beis Hamikdash. It was a little higher.
The Avedis of Levim, because the work of the Levim was lahamshich.
It's on top of the steps or something.
Yeah, they use the word Levim.
Well, let me just go back to Ben Yitzhak. He's basically saying that the Medrash is hinting that after Korach caused the Karacha b'Yisrael, Ben Yitzhak hints to ultimately it will lead to the opposite, to a great revelation. Could be, maybe, yeah. Maybe that's like the Nesir. It will ultimately bring to Panim B'Panim. Because at the end of the day, Korach's argument actually at the end ratified Aaron's choice, because God proved that Aaron was, and after that there would never be another challenge.
The big light.
Yeah. So that ratifies. That's why a lot of halachas come out of Korach's challenge. Afterwards, we learn about things about kahuna that were only established after Korach's challenge, and God showed that that's who He chose.
After the challenge.
Yeah. But anyway, he doesn't spell it out literally. When was the Yemisyachid by Duchan? Wow, it's all connected here. The work of Levim, we said Levim, remember, is Gvura. That's also Bina. It's also the left side. Is to draw down Bina, which is the level of the herding world, like we said, this in Pashas Korach. V'ovad?
Yeah,
V'ovad halevihu, okay. V'zeu she'emrim shira ala yayin, and that's the meaning that we say shira, we say song on wine. V'hu inyan yayin hamasamech elekim. Yayin is gvura, bina. You say song, and that's the shirus halavim. The Levim sang, because their aveda is from bina is to reveal the hidden. Yayin is hidden.
Yeah.
It's hidden, and that's why you say song, because it brings out the inner song.
Secrets.
This is the Alma Discussion. V'hu inyan yayin hamasamech elekim. Elekim also is bina. Bina hamasamech elekim shenim shegili havaya belekim. Elekim on its own is concealed, but hamasamech elekim, when you celebrate misamech, you what do you mean misamech elekim? You
misamech elekim by joining Havaya.
Right. Yeah. It's joining Havaya into it. V'hainu b'chin Shem Havaya melubish b'Shem Elekim. That means the Shem Havaya is it's manifest in Shem Elekim, like we said with nature, in the hidden in the miracles. The imlay kain shaykh le hamisamech. You can't say hamisamech. Ma'achashu l'mayla l'gamri m'Shem Elekim. So misamech means you're drawing down to a joy. Elo Shem Havaya Shem lubish b'Shem Elekim. So hamisamech Elekim means that Shem Havaya that manifests and clothed in Shem Elekim. V'asimchu sheyigili Shem Havaya v'hikin nisman starim anal. And the simcha is, what's the joy? The revealed joy is that there should be the revelation of Shem Havaya. That's like the hidden miracles that we discussed above. Yedua sheyesh b'chinas emes Havaya ve'emes dalakim. We know there's two emes. There's emes Havaya and emes dalakim. V'yayin emes sameach dalakim b'chinas emes dalakim. This is gilui Shem Havaya. So emes Havaya is a level of a higher level b'chlal. That's like Matan Torah more. Emes dalakim is the mesameach dalakim, that there should be the emes dalakim. It should have in it the gilui of Havaya. So if that's the case, they're fundamentally really one level. Okay. So be'etzem they're one level. What means one level? That Bina really is connected to that level of Havaya. They're opposites. They are opposites. Because Elokim is
But the name is
and Kedar did not want the revelation and the song. He didn't want it to be revealed. It's a very short lashon here, but the idea is clear. He did not want this gilui. So Yaakov said, I don't mention me in the machlekes because Yaakov's in his gili and Kerech wanted Helen. But when Ziyeh mentioned Allah Duchan, Duchan I guess is connected to song.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It says it in the Levian, it doesn't say by Kana.
So the Divin is a Duchan, which means the song they reveal, that there should be Gili Elikus and Elikim, and that's where Yaakov is mentioned, when there's the Gili. Kerech didn't want that Gili. Okay. Kitzur. Shaddai hu shemeshad hamarochas. Now Shaddai means that it shatters the structures. They're revealed miracles that come from the core Shem Havaya. That's the higher revelation of the higher supernal Abba ve'Ima. Chachman Bina. V'nisim Mistarim is hidden miracles. Teva Mishem Elikim. Teva comes from Shem Elikim. Actually, Teva is Gematria. Teva is Gematria Elikim. V'anesu Gili Shem Havaya de Shem Elikim. And the miracle in nature is the revelation of Havaya through Elikim. V'gili Mokar Eshtalshus Shlei B'derech Hilavol. This is the revelation of the source of Eshtalshus, not in the regular gradation that he discussed that diminishes level to level. This is the unity of Yisrael Saba and Tfuna. Shaddai Belakuse. Yeah, the Chol Beria. Right?
That's the world of the...
Yeah. Shaddai Belakuse. And the root of this transmission is from the outer dimension of Ein and Sof, like he said, the outer dimension of Kesed. That means that the world and all that fills it, the level of Bama, the immanent energy, is not proportionate to the divine that is in the transcendent revelation. Enough to fulfill the void, the vacuum. This we can understand. He separated himself, split off. He wanted to split. The diminishing of the energy. This is the karacha, the boldness. And that's what Yaakov asked. There should be rachamim, that there should be the mili hachsad. Interesting. It says that, it doesn't say that. It says they shouldn't be part of that. But because his role is filling the empty, not the diminishing. Okay, we'll stop here. We did the end of the Maimer 36, chapter 144, page 278 through 280.